All right, let's talk about your career. So you've worked at a beautiful range of companies, and I'm not going to list them because we've literally got 10 minutes to do this interview, but there's a long list. So just to say a couple.
Yeah, have stayed at quite a few of them quite a long time. I'm just old.
You have. No. Xavier Rees, CEO of AMV Group.
Yes.
Did I get it right?
That's me, yeah.
Great. Welcome to the sofa. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And I got you a special cup.
Yeah, I know. I'm slightly humbled.
Shut up. I know you hate that word. You told me off for that already. Right. What does after work mean to you?
Decompression, time to slow down, family, and switching off when I can.
How do you switch off? Because I struggle to switch off.
As do I, and I think it requires real effort in some ways. I do increasingly try to make sure that there is time, even if stuff is really, really frantic, where you just have to look after yourself by saying, I'm just going to leave that till 7:30 a.m. tomorrow, rather than try and solve it there and now. I run to not to keep fit as much as to keep fit in my mind.
But it clears that.
Yeah. And I don't wear headphones when I run. And when I tell people that, they're always like, "Oh, what?" Because I love music. I'd hate the house if there's not music on.
Yeah.
The only time I wouldn't want music on is when I'm running.
Because then you'd be thinking about the music, not clearing your head, or?
I think it's not what somebody later helped me articulate it, but what you realise is that once you've been running for a bit, you start to get into a bit of a meditative state, and you cease to think at all, and you become, you sort of exist very much in the moment, and it becomes quite a mindful exercise. Words someone else gave me to help articulate, but I think that's what happens.
Right, let's talk about AMV.
Yeah, let's do it.
Where you are at the moment.
Yeah.
So let's talk about assembling your crew.
Yeah.
Because you took the group CEO role in early 2024. Tell me if I get any of these facts.
Yeah. May 2024.
May 2024, you swiftly made some amazing hires. Special mention to Jemima Monies and Joe Arden, and I'm sure you can add a few more.
I was going to say Steve Mills, Sadie Hewen-Wilson.
Was it important for you taking on the new role to assemble your people?
The task of leadership is to say, where are we now? Where do we need to get to? And what do I need to get there? Sometimes that means, have I got the right people? Sometimes it means I might have the right people, but actually there's a role that's missing. And therefore I've got to, and obviously there's not endless money. So there's a role I really need doing, and there's no one to do it. But my need was to work out how we could make things work better.
How do you make everybody work towards a shared ambition when there's so many personalities to deal with?
Well, I try to take subjectivity out of it, but also in terms of building a team, what you don't want is everybody who fiercely agrees with each other all the time. You want people that want the same things in the end, but you don't want people that have all got the same way of going about it. And you want a diverse set of minds. So back to the point, I have tried to assemble the very best team in town, and I think that's what AMV deserves, and I think that's what we've done. And it is a team which is still new. Joe only joined 6 months ago, but it's a team that's going to be brilliant together. It's already good together, and it's going to get better and better as we learn together what the team is. And I think that you need some agitation in a team, and the job of the leader is to create a sense of safety, so that nobody feels like you're having a difficult argument. You're just having a conversation about the different ways we might get where we need to get to.
And you're allergic to micromanaging. We had a really good conversation about this the other day. I feel like I walked out having learnt a lot, actually. But tell me a bit more about that.
Well, there's a time and a place for micromanagement. So I think that's really important to say, that in some moments you need to be really specific. But I think quite often there are moments where people are really specific when that's not really how you're going to get the best outcome. So I think you need to give people as much responsibility as is, safe and reasonable, but not so much that it's going to create any damage that's going to be problematic. But I think, embracing mistakes and allowing them to happen is really important.
And you even go as far, you told me the story the other day about how you go as far as to spot a mistake about to happen and let it play out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, sometimes.
Which made me feel a bit sick, by the way, because I need to do that more.
Yeah, like there are many ways to do almost everything. And so quite often, just because I've done it that way, you know, you might go, I think that might not play out, but it's perfectly safe to see how the rest of the meeting goes and whatever, and let's see. And then have a conversation later to kind of just play it back through. If you need to, because actually sometimes, of course, you'll realise that the guidance you would have given wouldn't have made anything any better. And so then all you're doing is micromanaging and preventing people from developing their own ability to make smart decisions and behave in a way that's natural to them.
All right, let's talk about wordsmithing. So I spoke to a few current and ex-colleagues of yours. As I always do, I like to stalk a little bit. And they told me how carefully you choose your words. And we can talk about whether that's intentional or not. But people are very intentional and careful with written words a lot of the time. But when they start speaking, it can be less intentional and more, let's get those words out. And actually, when you and I were talking, I really noticed how kindly and carefully you corrected something that I said, which I love. No, but I don't want to be wrong. Like I like, but it was the manner you did it in that really stuck with me and I thought was very kind. And I think it's not. So have semantics always been important to you?
Do you know what I'm going to start by doing is highlighting the word semantics, because they're often used to mean little inconsequential things, right? But
so you're going to correct me on that?
No, I'm not correcting you because actually, of course, what they really mean is you know how you word things. So I at school I hated English literature and loved English language. I've always been interested in the structure of language. Definitely, similar words can be used to mean quite different things, and I think we're in the business of communication. And talk about my career in direct marketing, you learn that actually not only the word you use, but where you place the word on the page or in a sentence makes a huge difference to how people respond, and if they respond at all.
Your parents also loved words, didn't they?
Yeah, I think both my parents have helped me be more precise with my language. My mum would often get the dictionary out to make sure I understood the meaning of a word, particularly swear words. She would,
I'm going to start doing
swear as like a little kid. She would not tell me off, but she would go and get the dictionary and read the definition of some quite funky swear words back to me.
How important are the right words in really tricky situations? For example, redundancies.
Everybody deserves honesty. But also everybody deserves the context, so they understand whether whether they're at fault or whether it's because of entirely separate factors. You have to do it with care because you're talking about people's lives, and I think, and I probably room 101. But back to previous conversation, people that don't think enough about how their words impact other people. Can do one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There have been lots of moments in my career and lots of other leaders' career where you've had to do things like that. It's not just redundancy conversations, any kind of difficult news. I think the biggest problem in businesses is it's easy to communicate good news and really hard to communicate bad news. And so what happens is bad news doesn't get communicated. Of course it does, because it leaks out, and then you aren't able to control how it's communicated, and you aren't able to let people know how you feel about it. They fill that vacuum with their own version of the story. So it's hard to communicate difficult news, but people deserve it, and communicating difficult news has to be really well thought out, because bluntly, otherwise you fuck it up, and if you're not worried about fucking it up, then you shouldn't be responsible for the lives and careers of people that work for you.
And you always say, if you're not the person delivering that bad news, it's just cowardly. Like, you have to do you have to handle those or tackle those problems face on.
You cannot ask people to do things you're not prepared to do yourself. And of course, there are lots of people, I know this, that will, the good news merchants, they'll have everybody else tell the bad news. That's not my vibe. I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just not my vibe.
Right. 40 pluses
Yeah.
in advertising.
Yeah.
So you've said the industry needs us oldies, but how? I guess there's two questions here. One is why, and the other is how do we retain us oldies? Because quite frankly, advertising has been known as a young industry, rightly or wrongly, and it's tiring, and there's a pace, and so there is a drop off.
Well, I think first thing is to separate out those oldies who still want to work in advertising versus those who don't. So, there are lots of people who get to a certain age and with good reason, and I don't think it's a criticism of the industry, decide I might do something else at this point. But for those people that want to stay in the industry, we're not very good at keeping them, or indeed embracing the fact they've still got a lot to offer. Experience, knowledge, skills, capability are appreciated over time, and people well into their 60s, 70s, even 80s are doing creative roles that they seem to be even better at than they've ever been. So there are some things that youth and newness bring that experience can't, but there are some things that experience bring that are timeless, and that if you have a lot of it are invaluable to the business you work for, but also to the clients that we work with. Part of our industry's problem is we have this sort of up and out vibe, where if you're not getting promoted every 3 years, you either see yourself as a failure. And I'm much more interested in career arcs, because there'll come a point in my career probably where maybe I don't want to be a CEO, but I'd still love to be involved in the industry stuff.
What's the best thing you've done this year?
Well, I'm going to answer it with non-work stuff. My daughter had her final year art show, and my daughters and my wife and my parents went to see it, and that was a really beautiful thing. Then Crystal Palace winning the cup final. So cheers to that.
Cheers to that. You've been waiting a while for it. I'm not going to say that. What's your biggest professional mistake?
As an account exec or an account manager, we commissioned an illustrator to create a set of really lovely sort of renders of street maps for a retailer that had loads and loads of branches to show people where their local was, and we took them to present to the client. The client loved them, and I left them on the train. And my boss said to me, well, now it'd be 50 grand plus of illustrations. It was probably 20 grand then. But she said, cool, but you photocopied them, right? I was like...
Oopsie. It's the shittest feeling when you make those mistakes.
Yeah, didn't do it again, though.
Lesson learned.
For little known extra bits that my boss in that situation is my wife. She wasn't my wife then.
How forgiving was she?
Or my girlfriend.
And at that point, was she like, I know this is the man for me? He's already fucked this up.
It still comes up.
That's so good. That is the end of the official interview. Right, okay. What's the worst task on your to-do list? Don't say this. Don't you dare say this kind of PR. Thank you very much.